Dude, no way this video went under my nose. I forget, is Upper Echelon Gamers, or Upper Echelon, I guess is just what he goes by now. He changed his name. Is he like a Chud channel? I know I've covered him before, but I can't remember if he's just a gaming content creator who has some maybe like chuddy opinions, or if he's like a full-on conservative YouTuber. No, he literally is just a gaming content creator who sometimes talks politics. I think we might actually get less so like a chud take here, and more so like a really hard to fight fence-sittery take here. You know what I mean? I feel like we're gonna get a very on-the-fence take from this guy in this video. Yeah, I don't think this guy is really full-on conservative. Oh no, look, there's a description. Video games are often criticized for having woke themes. However, that criticism is often void of deeper analysis. So today I wanted to look at the world of video games, the topic of ESG. Oh, we're finally gonna learn what ESG is, guys. Holy shit, this is what like heel vs. Babyface was screaming about. We're finally gonna learn what ESG is, and the way in which the industry might have changed as an effort to secure future investment. Sweet Baby Incorporated, BlackRock, Vanguard, major publishers and development studios all paying lip service to a set of ideals that really, at the end of the day, according to the data we can see, don't mean much to any of them. Okay. Well, let's find out. Let's find out how video games went woke.
Today's an interesting video, at least I think so, because today we're talking about the process by which the video game industry went woke through the lens of a pretty widespread claim that was made a few months ago. The claim was that a company called Sweet Baby Incorporated had somehow contributed to the phenomenon where video game narratives are being deliberately constructed for the purpose of ticking off diversity checkboxes, which in turn qualifies them for ESG investments, ESG meaning environmental, social, and governance in this case, from major companies like BlackRock.
Oh my fucking god. They're genuinely retarded. Oh my fucking god, okay. It is the thing. It is the thing. It is the thing. Hold on. So, the environmental, social, and corporate governance. Environmental, social, and corporate governance, this is ESG, this is what they say is behind the trend of wokeness in the media, is a set of considerations, including environmental issues, social issues, and corporate governance that can be considered in investing. Investing with ESG consideration is sometimes referred to as responsible investing, or in more proactive cases, impact investing. It is literally just a score, I guess, that a company or a business can have, that when people go to invest, they can be like, oh, is this company like generally, does it have like generally progressive values? Is it very unlikely to have like a big drama stir up that causes a drop in the stock prices? No? Okay, cool. Sounds good. So I guess this is their way of explaining why games are becoming quote unquote woke, without acknowledging the abuse of the workers and like the constraints they're put under by publishers, like the actual devs, and also while denying the clear fact that games being woke, quote unquote, just sells well and people buy it, and good sales means more money. And as much as these people can deny it, The Last of Us 2 was the most sold game on PlayStation on day one. You can't say that these games go woke and go broke, or any piece of media go woke and go broke. It's always a different reason. It's never because minorities are in it or whatever.
It sounds complicated, but the idea itself is pretty straightforward. Investment companies like BlackRock allegedly have a kind of scorecard. That scorecard factors in things like diversity, inclusion, LGBTQ allyship, etc., and the scores that these companies receive qualify them, or disqualify them, from being the target of investment, which has further downstream impacts. The particular claim we're looking at today asserts that video game publishers have increasingly turned to a company called Sweet Baby Incorporated, among others, so as to boost their effective score by modifying their games with woke-style themes or narratives, thereby qualifying them for additional investments, aka going woke. Now, I fully understand that today's topic is...
That almost sounds like a company Matt Walsh is running.
Is highly politicized. I'm not trying to do that. It's just an objective fact here. So please keep in mind that I'll be attempting to go purely analytical, staying away from opinionated jabs and commentary on what I actually think of the current gaming landscape. I certainly have opinions, don't get me wrong, but this video is about looking at patterns, not rambling about grievances. There's plenty of that circulating on social media right now. I've certainly done it myself in the past, but today I'm much more interested in what's actually happening behind the scenes, because the general accusation, gaming has gone woke, is extremely common, yet often said with very little deeper analysis. Let's get started. This is Sweet Baby Incorporated.
You see, he's going to be different. He's going to explain with detailed analysis. He's going to be the one that does it. He's going to explain how games are really woke. Now, what he's probably going to take the next, conveniently, exactly how long it takes to have optimum amount of mid-roll ads in the video, amount of time to say, is that there is tons of media that is made by massive, overbearing publishers that require there to be... that require a lot of, certain claims, or not claims, certain standards be met. And some of them are stupid. Some of them make sense. All of them are with the goal of making that corporation more money. It's as simple as that. Now, this has led to the popularity of what many people simply refer to as committee-designed media. Some of the biggest AAA games and movies are what you might describe as committee-designed. That is to say, even if they are aesthetically and on the surface quite different, just at a glance, when you start watching them, they have an insane amount of similarities. The humor is similar. Marvel movies are a good example. Call of Duty is a good example. These are what are called committee-designed games. A large group, a bunch of investors come together, they stick with what's safe, they try to replicate past success, and there's very little appreciation for anything that isn't clearly going to result in profit. Many of these investors are completely disconnected. There is absolutely a lot of truth in that. And that is much like with Gamergate, which started with, talking about the absolutely, awful state of journalism when it comes to gaming. It's not that it's corrupt. It's just very low quality. The bar has always been really low for gaming journalism to begin with. So, acknowledging that and trying to get more serious coverage of it from serious organizations, has always been a thing that gamers want, right? But Gamergate quickly just became about women and minorities in gaming, and any concern about this will quickly turn into that as well. If there is an actual story here, this will quickly fall to the wayside as the grifters just come in to scream about how minorities are bad. But these committee-designed movies and shows and all that, they absolutely do have checkboxes. They absolutely do want to have, a set amount of black characters, a set amount of women, a certain... there has to be one scene where a woman fights and beats up a guy, that kind of thing. There have been leaked meetings and stuff that have happened in big Hollywood productions about this kind of stuff. There absolutely is a concerted desire to kind of shoehorn in progressive stuff into this media. It's not on the part of the artists making it most of the time. It's usually the publishers and investors and whatnot. However, there is yet to be made an argument on how this is, harmful to gaming. If the harmful thing that is happening is that in exchange for more investment money to these projects, these games, there just ends up being more gay, black, and female characters in these games, and that's the drawback to you? That is a side effect, a negative drawback? Does that not say something about you as a gamer?
This company in particular came under fire a few months ago from a variety of angles, resulting in them turning some of their social media private, probably because they got harassed, which does happen when you become the target of YouTube videos en masse. But with that in mind, I'm not actually focusing on whether or not Sweet Baby Incorporated individually is the reason video games went woke. I'm focusing on the concept of whether or not companies like them have an incentive to exist, and whether or not major publishers or development studios have an incentive to hire them. If those two things prove to be true, well, that obviously tells us something. And here's a bit of a spoiler. It's pretty obvious, in my opinion, that yes...
You know what I'm pretty sure this company probably does? Here. Do you know what message has appeared at the beginning of every Assassin's Creed game since 2008 or 9, whenever the first one came out? I'm a big Assassin's Creed fan. And so, going back for a very, very long time, they have had this message on every one of their games for Assassin's Creed. Now, they've added to it over time, which I guess they'd say is it getting more woke or something, but this type of idea has always been a thing, and I'm pretty sure a company like this just helps to do the thing that is being referenced here. So at the beginning of Assassin's Creed anything, you get this message. Inspired by historical events and characters, this work of fiction was designed, developed, and produced by a multicultural team of various beliefs, sexual orientations, and gender identities. So that's the more recent version of it, but it's always been around. The idea that this whole gaming has gone woke thing and now they consider other cultures' input when they make a game or whatever is a new woke thing, it's just not. It's been around at least since Assassin's Creed.
Those two things are currently true. Once again,
I mean, one of the most common things to do whenever you're doing research for making a game is to go visit the setting that you plan to set the game in, or a setting similar to the setting of your game, to try and get a feel for what it's like, you know? Like the Grand Theft Auto 5 team, I know this is a weird example, but the Grand Theft Auto 5 team absolutely spent a shitload of time exploring that area of California because I lived in that area of California, and it is insane how easily I was able to figure out my way around the map of GTA 5 based on my knowledge of the real setting in real life.
And this is Sweet Baby Incorporated. It is a, quote, narrative development
Things are a little jumbled around, but it's surprisingly accurate.
and consultation studio based in Montreal with a mission to tell better, more empathetic stories while diversifying and enriching the video games industry, end quote. On the surface, to be completely honest, that's not very interesting. It gets a little bit weirder when you listen to some of the things that their executives have said publicly, sure, but the most interesting part is their client list. Xbox Game Studios, EA, Electronic Arts that is, Valve, 2K, Ubisoft, Square Enix, Warner Brothers, Rocksteady, Avalanche, Compulsion Games, etc., etc. The list is very long and also includes a large number of industry-leading publishers as well as development studios. For Sweet Baby as a business, that's great, but for the topic today, we need to understand what it is they actually do. The best way to describe this, without going down a pretty hefty rabbit hole here, is to read this paragraph from their Approach info page. Quote, "We believe that representation is key to connecting players and audiences, and we offer a few ways to help your team and project gain the perspective needed to make it happen. We're part of an inclusive and knowledgeable community of diverse consultants, able to cover a wide range of cultural and sensitivity topics. Our approach leads with the creation of joy in marginalized players and seeks to be additive rather than strictly corrective. We do cultural consultation, sensitivity and inclusivity reading, risk and opportunities assessment, and more," end quote. See, that's the type of stuff that people generally talk about or refer to when they say the word woke. Sensitivity reading.
Oh my god, it's literally a company that you pay to have a shitload of people from diverse demographics look over your media and tell you whether or not it's going to drum up controversy and offend people, and give you a warning and tell you how best to not do that. How is being diverse, how's that bad? So once again, woke is when there is representation and minorities and empowerment of marginalized groups, and also woke is also anything bad too. It's kind of, they call everything bad woke, and then also when minorities exist in media. It makes you think.
Reading means reading something and determining who might possibly be offended, which might be okay, surface level, sure, except for when obscure or irrelevant demographics are considered, or invented, rather, leading to dramatic corrections, as they also discuss.
Excuse me, invented? I see. Invented demographics. You mean groups of people that you don't agree are valid? I do like how conservatives like this are never really able to, grapple with the argument as to whether or not trans people or whatever group are valid. It's always sort of just this passing off of the group is not valid, and the implication that they are being talking about the implication that they are, or people arguing that they are, as a problem in and of itself. Not an argument to engage with. Told you he was a chud? I knew he was chuddy. I didn't think he was a chud YouTuber. And to be fair, he's not. He mostly just does apolitical gaming videos. But yeah, this guy clearly has some pretty not so great values.
Which are then made to the game, ultimately destroying its appeal to the pre-existing fan base. Whether you're for it or against it, the idea of hiring a consultation firm to help make a game more sensitive, inclusive, and diverse is
Thank
a
you for
practice
making
that is
that
now
argument
rather
for me.
common. And again, that is what people are referring to when they say that the video game industry has gone woke. But the question is why? Short answer, ESG, environmental social governance. That's what people tell you who criticize the practice. But what's actually happening? This is BlackRock. BlackRock is a multinational investment firm. You've probably heard of it many times before, and it's the world's largest individual corporate asset manager. On a similar level is Vanguard.
I love how gamers are, like, older gamers are starting to make up their own conspiracy theories about the gaming industry now, you know? Like, if it was inevitable as, like, gamers get to be older and older and older as time goes by. Now we've got, like, boomers and, like, mind-degenerated Gen Xers like this guy or whatever, who are starting to, like, fall into the conspiracy bubble, but their main personality trait is being a gamer. So the conspiracies they get into, instead of being like anti-vax and flat Earth, end up being, yes, these investment firms are somehow, for some reason, and somehow it's bad, making these companies turn games woke.
Vanguard, another multinational investment company managing over $7.7 trillion in this case. And these two firms, among many others out there, have something in common. They both prioritize ESG investments. ESG-focused investing is a financial phenomenon or trend, if you will. According to a PwC report, quote, asset managers globally are expected to increase their ESG-related assets under management, AUM, to $33.9 trillion.
Remember, this is all copium over the fact that they can't just admit that progressive values, being pro-LGBT, anti-racism, these are popular beliefs of the vast majority of people in America and in the developed world. But if they, like, give that up, if they admit most people are woke, then there's no real conspiracy about why most media is woke, is there? Like, if everyone's woke, if most people, if more than half of people are woke, then naturally more than half of media made to make money by sales would be woke. There's no conspiracy there. There's no mystery there. So they're kind of having to skate on this, like, claim or implication that non-wokeness, non-progressivism is the silent minority, or the silent majority. Sorry, I'm high. Okay, I'm allowed to be high. Okay, I make my own hours. I make my own rules. I'm allowed to be high on stream. Anyway, they kind of skate on this idea that they've already won the culture war in regards to, like, the popular vote, so to say, which they haven't. Even on an electoral scale, they haven't won the popular vote. But regardless, it's this implication that, like, well, most gamers and people don't like progressive woke stuff, and surely that must mean that there is some other agenda behind all of this, right? Because they have to find their way to copium out of the acceptance, the admission their ideas aren't as popular as they'd like to suggest.
By 2026.
And remember, like all conspiracy theorists, which right-wingers are, they don't do research to back up their, like, to learn about things. They do research to back up their beliefs, to, like, validate their opinion that they've already gotten, so that they can make arguments to convince more people to agree with them, because once you're surrounded by enough people that agree with you, you essentially lose all responsibility to defend your ideas, because any group of people that comes along to criticize you is inevitably going to be too small for their voices to matter. And that's what conservative content creators rely on, gathering such a large audience that anyone who comes along like moi, who criticizes them, has too small a voice to make any real impact for really anyone to hear, even a fraction of the people who watch this video. And that's just kind of how conspiracy theorists and conservatives work.
End quote. And what's even more substantial, ESG assets are on pace to constitute 21.5% of total global assets under management in less than 5 years. Simply put, ESG investing is a viral phenomenon where the social, environmental, and political conscience of an asset, or company rather, is allegedly at the core of whether or not major investment firms will include it in their portfolios. So much so that prominent businesses now publish what are called ESG reports. Here's one from Kraft Heinz, the company behind ketchup, in 2022. It has an entire section called Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging. More specific to gaming, if you want that, here's an ESG report from Activision Blizzard in 2021.
Cool.
The word diversity is mentioned 39 times, and the report very specifically emphasizes more characters in the video games that they produce from LGBTQ backgrounds or non-binary representation. Now, this matters because BlackRock and Vanguard, both of them, under their asset umbrella, if you will.
So, what I love about this is that companies deciding they want to make media with diverse casts for money is bad. Is it okay if they're not doing it for money? Because in that case, I have a really bad news for you. Everything these companies do is for money. They're not doing anything at all for your personal enjoyment or for the betterment of humanity. They're doing it because their products are products, and you buy them, you give them money, and then they have the money and they want the money. This isn't a game, ironically enough. This is business. And clearly, I don't know what the issue is here. Is it the fact that there are minorities in the media? Is it the fact that it's dishonestly presented? Is it what's the problem?
Will have numerous different funds dedicated
Smoke
to the
and
concept
mirrors,
of ESG, which is specifically why these large companies are trying so hard to fit in. One important side note for later in the video from the Vanguard ESG stock ETF, quote, the index excludes the stocks of companies that FTSE determines engage in, have a specified level of involvement in, and or derive threshold amounts of revenue, that's important, threshold amounts of revenue, from one or more of the following activities.
Damn, I'm going to switch from the S&P 500 and invest in this.
Including, further down, own
Vanguard
and or operate
ESG.
a gambling establishment, end quote. My point is that these investment funds have rules, kind of ethical rules, really, and that gaming companies in particular are attempting to conform to.
Let's see, hold on a second. Ooh. Okay. Market price, $86. Ooh, that's low for an index fund, though. That's kind of low. Okay, no, I'm buying. No shot. Tomorrow morning, market open, I'm selling my S&P 500 shares, and I'm buying into this. No fucking shot. I'm getting in early on this ESGV shit. Hell yeah. Thank you, buddy. You say go woke, go broke? Well, I'm willing to put some money down on it. I've got money in Robinhood. I'll switch it over from one stock to this. Hell yeah.
To said rules.
I love it. I love index funds. Those are my favorite things to invest in.
Let's go one step further and make it completely obvious. Remember that list of companies that hired Sweet Baby Incorporated that they brag about on their official website? Let's look at those, starting with Electronic Arts. The largest two institutional shareholders of EA, BlackRock and Vanguard. Take-Two Interactive, another name on the list of Sweet Baby clients by way of 2K. Largest institutional holders, Vanguard and BlackRock. Warner Brothers, again, Sweet Baby client, largest holders, Vanguard, then BlackRock, and the list goes on.
Okay.
See, the corporate...
Oh my god, are gamers starting to figure out that the corporate world is actually extremely small, and there's a reason why they call the 1% the 1%? Because, an insane amount of power and wealth is held by an extremely small amount of people and organizations? Holy shit. It's almost like this is what those crazy leftist woke people have been telling you this whole time. But nah, there must be a conspiracy going on here. No, there's something going on. There being so many connections here in the corporate world, this makes no sense. Something's up. There's something going on. It's time to put on my gamer investigator cap.
Tree of life, as I call it in a demented way, makes it even more obvious because the other names on that list, the list of Sweet Baby clients that is, are almost all related in some capacity as well, even if BlackRock or Vanguard are not directly holding their company's stock. Example, Warner Brothers.
Man, I love how crazy and secret this conspiracy theory is that, this is a public website you're reading. Man, we really got them, guys, with this crazy secret conspiracy. They're doing all this horrible shit. They're trying to hide it from you. Look at their website.
Others in 2010, a while ago, acquired a majority stake in Rocksteady Studios, meaning that yet another client on the list is directly connected through its parent organization, and the same is true for practically every single name you see. Microsoft, largest institutional holders, surprise, surprise, Vanguard, BlackRock, and this was true for Activision Blizzard as well, even before the buyout. As of October 12, 2023,
what's the problem?
BlackRock owned 56 million shares of the company, accounting for 7.2% of its total, and Vanguard owned over 61 million, 7.9%. Microsoft also owns Compulsion Games.
I'm going to have a brave take here and say, I have yet to hear an argument why black people in video games bad. I've yet to hear a compelling argument. I'm sorry. I simply haven't.
Surprise, surprise. Yet another name on the list of Sweet Baby Incorporated. But you get the point. These companies, the ones hiring Sweet Baby, unilaterally enjoy substantial investment from two of the world's largest asset holders who champion the concept of ESG in their investing portfolios, which heavily incentivizes shoehorn diversity, thereby feeding the cycle and creating an industry norm where publishers play ball, kind of, and make their products look better for the purpose of appeasing this larger agenda, only to have their original audiences wondering what the hell happened when the products become unrecognizable. Make sense?
Wait until this guy figures out how many companies are responsible, at the very end of the chain, are responsible for our food production. Like, wait till he finds out it's 4 fucking companies. He's gonna be like, oh my god, there's this crazy conspiracy theory. If you look it up, literally every company, every single grocery store in the world works with General Mills. Dude, what is General Mills making? Every grocery store? No way. There's a conspiracy going on here, guys. What is General Mills up to, guys?
Just one problem. This whole thing is a sham. Remember that requirement, the one we briefly read from the Vanguard ETF about excluding gambling? Yeah, that's a pretty normal provision for most of these funds, but half of the modern video game world is now predicated on blatant underage gambling. Loot boxes, surprise mechanics, whatever you want to call them, it's gambling. But that doesn't really matter because the point isn't to actually...
Money. Money is the point. Yes. There's no ideology. There's no propaganda. Money. Woke sells, and they want money. Gambling sells, they want money. Woke good, or what you call woke good, that's representation. Gambling, bad. Especially for kids.
Have ethical investments. The point is to look like you do through the lens of modern social expectations. Let me expand on that. According to analysis done by Gianpaolo Peri and Mirko Rubin, I think is how you say that, published by
General Mills is also owned by BlackRock. Whoa! General Mills is woke? God.
EU in October of 2023, titled Smoke and Mirrors, A Look Inside ESG Fund Portfolios. Quote, as a final piece of evidence, we calculate the hypothetical returns a fund would earn based on the disclosed portfolio and compare them to its realized returns. In Figure 2, we observe that in the 10 days leading up to disclosure, funds tend to underperform the portfolio they are about to disclose. This observation is consistent with the idea, during this period, they incur meaningful transaction costs as they adjust their portfolio to include more environmentally friendly and sustainable assets. However, following the disclosure event, we notice a shift in performance dynamics. Funds begin to outperform the portfolio that they have just disclosed, indicating that they are now holding higher paying assets than the ones they have recently made public. This trend is in line with the hypothesis that after the disclosure event, funds might replace some ESG assets with higher yielding but less sustainable assets, end quote. Simplified, before disclosing what assets they hold, ESG funds are rearranging themselves to look good, only to sell off those assets immediately and invest back into whatever is just most profitable. Smoke and mirrors. Here's an even better example that's also pertinent to the gaming industry. Activision Blizzard, the company rocked by sexual harassment.
Okay. So how is it bad that the games are woke? This is just corporate shit. Are you against capitalism? Are you in favor of the market being controlled by government regulation? I didn't think so. Also, oh yes, are we going to get more? Okay. What I love about the whole Activision Blizzard employees, they're weirdos, sexual harassers. The people who are doing the weird sexual harassment stuff, A, got fired. B, were mostly in management positions above the lower wage workers who were being harassed sexually. C, when you still harass the state of Blizzard, you're harassing the victims. Many of the victims stayed behind at Blizzard. The harassers got outed and fired. So now it's just people shit-talking the people who were sexually harassed that remain at Blizzard. So, this anti-dev mindset that's become really popular in gaming content lately has gotten to be a big problem, I think. Everyone's so quick to blame shit on the devs and completely forgets that 99% of problems are almost always the fault of the publisher. That's right, always. If it's a bug, it could have been fixed. The publisher gave him more time and money. Simple as that.
Harassment lawsuits, worker mistreatment scandals, employee walkouts, and governmental investigations. Yeah, they're perfectly fine for these funds, apparently. They have a board of directors that's 20% women and 20% underrepresented minorities, according to their ESG reports, so they're good to go. And as such, we're included in many of the funds that BlackRock and Vanguard offer as an ESG-compliant company.
Oh, I see what he's saying. So woke is when you dishonestly have representation in your media, but then secretly behind the scenes, your company is rife with sexual harassment and misogyny. So it's actually fake woke. Like the Tom McDonald song. I see. I get it. Okay. That's the argument he's making. Still batshit insane and wrong, but, an actual argument that I'm actually able to pick up on from what he's saying here.
Journal itself openly admits, quote, asset managers seem willing to include any company paying lip service to progressive priorities, end quote. Companies like Sustainalytics and Permutable AI publish reports aimed at analyzing the ESG score of different organizations, and those reports are allegedly used by BlackRock, Vanguard, and presumably others as well to allocate funds.
I so badly wish what these people talk about was true. I so badly wish there was like an omniscient, massive hand made of money that was out there like guiding our culture and our media towards like progressivism for the sake of like making people woke. Like that, if that was the case, I would be so goddamn happy, and I think every progressive person would just breathe the biggest sigh of relief, like just knowing, oh, okay, so like everything's fine. Like there's some like there's some like wealthy entity out there that is just covering the cost of wokeifying everybody for us. Like I didn't realize that. Nice. Okay, I guess we win. Unfortunately, that's not the case. I very badly wish that there was a money entity out there paying to make everything woke, but it's just, I don't think that's happening. I'm gonna take a wild gamble and say it's not happening.
Problem? Those reports merely seem to establish a surface-level score, failing to consider even monumental issues with the company internally, like reliance on underage gambling as a revenue stream, a large one at that, or widespread worker abuse as well.
Yeah, we should be in favor of more government regulation of the market and corporations. Yeah, yeah, let's go. Yeah, more government regulation of corporations in the market. Let's go. Yeah, are we on the same boat now? Okay, cool.
Focusing instead on things like self-disclosed ESG reports, where a company brags about what percentage of its executive board are non-binary. The results? Companies like Activision Blizzard are included in the environmental social governance funds, while publishers become incentivized to hire consultants like Sweet Baby Incorporated, because the surface-level narrative changes that they make to their intellectual property and franchised video games are somehow impactful enough here to place them in the good graces of the world's largest asset managers. Not because they did anything good, but because they look good on paper according to a very narrow set of criteria, so that holding their stock is deemed ethical.
It's not based on being ethical. It's based on what makes people money. That is the world of stocks and the market. Like, what do you want? It is possible for a massive entity to both make a shitload of money in a dishonest way and do a good thing. That is a possible thing that can occur. It is rare, but sometimes the interests of greedy, wealthy people and institutions align with the interests of humanity, once in a blue moon.
At specific points in time. Bottom line, Sweet Baby Incorporated is not responsible for video games going woke. It's merely profiting off a general demand for that end, helping them do it by making the products seem that way, so that publishers can align themselves with the financial trend that demands.
Demand from who for wokeness, though? Wait, but who's the demand from for wokeness? Is it people? Is it because whenever there's like a game that has like a lesbian couple as the main characters, Twitter like and Tumblr like blow it up and it ends up being a Life is Strange or something? Or like is that why? Is it because, as it turns out, there's actually quite a bit of progressive gamers out there that like to see their values and their identities represented in their favorite medium of entertainment?
Diversity and inclusion, all for the optics of an asset fund. At least, that's what it looks like to me if I step back and try to see the full picture. In the end, the idea that video games have gone woke seems to be based on a measurable push to have parent organizations and publicly traded companies associated with video games included in ESG funds by altering their products and paying lip service to the ideals that these funds pretend, once in a while, to be based on. That's it. If you want to support the channel, please check out the links down below, especially Patreon and local.
Okay. Yep. Alrighty. Well, we found out what ESG is, guys. We finally got an answer for that question. Finally. I've been hoping we would finally get an answer for that question because the conservatives have made it a new buzzword. So I guess we finally got a new buzzword that the right is going to be using from here on out when they refer to like the entity making games woke. At least they finally found something they can say instead of like vaguely hinting at they and making it very clear that it's like the Jews they're talking about. Like there's now like the perfect new dog whistle for when they mean Jews. Like the ESG. Well, I'm glad we were able to brush up on the buzzwords now. Now we know their talking points. Comment down below if you already knew what ESG was before this video. because I'm genuinely curious if, like, there's been a lot of people on the left hearing these talking points and just hoping for a progressive figure to make a video responding to one of these people making these arguments, or if this is completely new to most people on the left and they've never heard of this talking point, because it's getting pretty popular. I've heard it like 5 times up until this point, and we finally learned what it actually is. So there we go. Finally got our answer.